Okay. So everyone, thank you for joining us for the SureDone bulk webinar. Um, this is our second one we're running, so hopefully, this one goes a little bit quicker and we can get through everything. And again, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat box at the end. Okay, so I'm going to start. We're going to pull up SureDone, which I have open in another window. Okay, so this is just a demo account, so there's no data or anything like for sales analytics, but the inventory is all here. So the first thing I want to talk about with bulk is your bulk files. And I'm sorry, my internet is acting a little bit slow right now. It's still behind.
Maybe you're sharing just the window?
I'll check. Hold on, it looks like it's not sharing you what I'm showing you, so I'm going to try to switch here. Try to do this again. Is that...
I don't have
Great. Yeah.
What happened?
We have no idea. It's not like sharing my screen. That's what it sees on the screen.
Join that link or what?
It's 392-665-674.
Should come.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm good. Oh, maybe it's me. I see your screen.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone. Can you guys hear me all right? We're having some issues, it looks like, with one of my colleagues seeing the video. And now there's no sound. Okay, cool. Thank you. Again, sorry about that. Brett was watching along on his screen. He noticed that he couldn't hear or see anything. So maybe it's his computer, not mine. That's good. So, all right, let's get started. Sorry about that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I want to just take a quick second to go over actually what the bulk file will look like. So I have an example of one set up here. It's just a quick, small edit. But what we can do is you can always start a new spreadsheet. So whenever you're doing a bulk file, most often you're going to be doing it based on an export. So you're going to export some of your existing products, change them around, edit them back. But you can also start, complete from scratch with a blank CSV. The important thing is just to understand how the file is set up. So the file is made of two different components. You have the columns here, and these columns represent headers, which are each different fields in SureDone. For example, the price field, the title field, the eBay category ID. Those are each different fields in SureDone, which you can edit via the bulk upload tool. And then down here you have the rows. And the rows each represent a different item you can edit, right? So each one of these you pick up by an identifier, and you will then tell SureDone to edit the title for this product. So that's how it lines up. Pretty self-explanatory. The important thing to note is that the first two headers must be the action, which in this case, this spreadsheet here is for a quick add, so it's action equals add. And then the second one must be an identifier. So identifier can be most commonly it's the GUID, which as you all know is the globally unique identifier. It's the most unique thing in SureDone. You can also do it by Skew, but you want to be careful because if you're doing it by Skew and you're editing variations, the system won't be able to tell, you're trying to edit the parent, or you're trying to edit all the children, and it can cause some issues. The last one is the ID, which is a number that some of you may have noticed is assigned by SureDone. It just goes in numerical order, 1, 2, 3, 4, in the order you add them. And that just exists as like an ultimate, backup, so that way you can change the SKUs, but the ID will never change. So if you ever need to bulk change all of your SKUs, ID is the identifier you use because that never changes. You can't change that. So again, we recommend that you use GUID because it's the most unique. It's something you're probably more familiar with. You picked it or it's generated, however you choose. So that's what we recommend. And then the other headers, you can edit anything you'd like. The important thing to note, and we'll get into this again when we talk about editing your products though is to just upload what you're trying to edit. For example, if I wasn't going to mess with the pictures, I just shouldn't upload media count. If I'm just trying to change price, I should delete all E, F, G, H, and C in here. You really just want to upload the identifier and the field you're trying to change. Lastly, something to talk about in this section is make sure you understand that anything that's blank will get erased. So for example, I have this blank eBay cat ID. When I upload this file in SureDone, it's going to erase the eBay category ID. And obviously, that will give you some errors when you're trying to list. So it's very important that you make sure you clear out, any headers that you're not trying to edit, and that you don't leave any fields blank unless you are trying to actually erase the information in those. Okay. Lastly here, I will talk about the different actions we have. And we're going to talk about those each in different depth later in the webinar. But you have different action statements you can do. You can do action equals add, action equals edit, action equals relist. Those will be your most common. They work the same way the buttons in the bottom of the editor page do. Add for new products, edit and relist for existing products. We also have end, which is the same as the disable button in SureDone. It will end the listing on the channels, but it will preserve the information in SureDone in a disabled status so you can relist it later. We also have delete, which is like end, but then goes as far as to delete the product out of SureDone. You can't undo the delete, so it's very careful that if you're ever going to upload a delete action, you double, triple check the bulk file, because, and we always recommend also, just do a small batch, make sure it worked the way you want it to, and then go back and do the rest. And then lastly, we have start. And start is the same as like a create draft button in SureDone. Okay. So you notice most commonly we do action equals edit up here. Of course, you can also go this way and you could just type edit down the file like this. You could go edit, edit, add, and you can actually mix different ones. We don't recommend that. We think it's the best practice is just to do all your edits in one, all your adds in one, and you can use this trick here to lock it in like that. What this tells SureDone is that this entire column is going to be an edit. You can actually do this for any fields. We'll get into that when we talk about editing, but let's say you want to set the stock to 5 for everything. You just do this. The important thing to realize is if you're using this method with the equal sign, it will ignore everything in this column. So if I did, let's say I did delete down here and like a relist here, it's going to ignore that, and it's just going to do an edit on everything. And it's the same thing for this case. So it's just going to upload stock of 5 to everything, even if I put like 16.4 down here. So only use the equal sign if you're really trying to edit so that every product has the same thing. But if you're trying to edit 10,000 products to the same stock number or the same brand, for example, is a good use case for this. It can be a very quick way of being able to do that without having to type it and drag it down the page and all that. Okay, just pull up my notes here. Okay, and the last thing I want to cover in this section is I want to make sure you guys all know what file format to use. So everything in SureDone should be a comma separated values, which is a CSV format. You get to that just by going to Save As, and when you go to the Save As window, it'll pop up, and where it would normally say Excel workbook or Numbers notebook or Google spreadsheets, you just want to make sure you go down to comma separated values CSV and give it a name. So I'm going to say this is apparel update. And I'm going to put this in my downloads folder. Okay. You're going to get a warning usually saying, do you want to make sure because CSVs don't carry formatting, so Excel gives you a warning. Just click continue. Again, so the only thing you're going to save is the actual information. If you had anything in bold, anything underlined, or a different cell color, that's going to get erased when you save it as a CSV because CSVs don't support that sort of styling. Okay. If you have some sort of fancy template with Excel formulas, what I recommend is you save a copy as an Excel file and then just save as a CSV right before you upload it, and that'll work fine. Okay. And then just in case you want to build your own file, let's say you're doing a bulk ad or you want to find a header, we have this nifty guide here called the SureDone bulk headers file. They're color coordinated and it lists every single header in SureDone and a description of it. So for example, the brand obviously is the product brand, but it helps sometimes when they're a little less clear, right? It's here. And then it gives you some examples of the accepted values. Sometimes even links out to like lists of values from eBay or Amazon if they have requirements. Okay, that file can be found in our bulk guide series, which you find here under your profile under guides. Scroll down to the bottom section where it says bulk and view all. And the introduction to bulk series will cover a lot of the things we're going over right now in further detail. And you'll also be able to download that file I just showed you right here. So it's a list of all the headers in SureDone. Of course, it doesn't have your custom user fields, but you should be familiar with those yourselves. All of your built-in fields, though, will be right here. SureDone, eBay fields, Amazon fields, Etsy fields, etc. Okay? So we're actually getting to the bulk export right now, so I'll answer viewer 26. I'll answer your question right now, which is yes, the bulk export format is in a CSV. So I'm going to show you right now. To go to a bulk export, you just click Export under Products. And then you can just type in a search term. So for example, I want to export all of my Apple products that have a price greater than $1,000, right? I want to find all my high margin items. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to select type. Normally it'll default to products, so you don't have to select if it's products. You can also do, just so you know, pages exports for your website, orders exports, but we're not going to get into that right now. That's for another webinar. And then the last thing you want to do is you want to remove fields, right? So you don't usually want to export everything. That can be a little bit excessive, right? So we want to export just the information we need, and you can highlight different fields in here to remove them from the export. So in this case, I usually recommend you hit Command A on a Mac or Control A on a PC to select all, and then just deselect the ones you want to keep. So I want to keep the GUID, I want to keep the title, and we'll keep a few other small things. We're going to keep the stock and the price. Oh, I just unselected, sorry. Okay. And we'll just export that for now, or maybe the condition too, why not? We'll click Export Results. And that should be a relatively small sample, so it exported right away. Sometimes if you're exporting more like 100 or 200 items, it will take a few minutes, and we'll email you as soon as the file is ready, and you can just come here and download it by refreshing the page. But if I open this right now, it's going to open another window, but I'll be able to bring it over for you. Sorry. So here's that information I just requested, right? So it's all the information I requested for these products. If you didn't remove any fields, it would just basically pop out like 200 headers worth of, all the different eBay fields, the Amazon fields, etc. And you can just delete them that way. One quick trick here is you might notice sometimes if you do a bulk export like that your Excel file gets messed up. We even have an example here. I'll show you. Usually what happens is if you export your descriptions and you have really long descriptions with commas in them, sometimes when Excel tries to read that file, it breaks. So if you're running into that issue, and I'll get you an example so you can be prepared, but all you have to do is just remove the description from your export and then export the description separately. So just do one file with just descriptions and then one file without them. And here's what I'm talking about. Some of you have been using this tool already, probably are familiar with this. Again, that just comes from long descriptions with like special characters and stuff like that. Excel gets confused. So you can just exclude the description and that'll fix your file. Okay. So scrolling up here further. The last thing I will show you is the quick export. So the quick export is another way to export your products, which works very similar. You can pull up a search. So I'll just do the same search. So we'll do brand equals Apple, and the price is above $1,000. And if I do this, you can just click the export button right here. The only downside to doing it this way is that you don't get the choice to remove fields. So once I go to export, it'll be there, just like the other one is. But you'll notice it has all of the information. So it's a little bit of a bigger file. It can take a little bit longer to prepare. um, especially when you're doing a lot of items. But it'll load right there. You'll notice it has all those headers I was talking about. So every different field in SureDone is here. Okay. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about the more important and the more interesting things, which are editing products. So, for example, the most common case when you're editing a product is you're going to do a bulk export, just like we did this one here. And we're going to change some things. So you want to insert a new column in the front, and you want to do action equals edit. You're going to leave these fields alone, and let's say I want to change the price. Let's say the new model just came out, and I want to lower the price. So there's a couple different ways you could do that. One thing I like to do is I always keep the old price in the file. And you can actually store information. So if I type a header like old price, it's not going to process by SureDone because there's no field called old price, but it'll still be in your spreadsheet for your records if you wanted to pull up, and look like, oh, what was the price before I did the update in case you make a mistake. It saves that information somewhere. This won't break your upload. It'll just simply give you a warning that old price was ignored. So I usually leave old price there, and then you could do something like, let's just say I want to make this $9.99.99, and I'll make this one $12.99.99. But if you don't want to have to do the math in your head, you could also do something like an Excel formula, right? So you could just do times 0.85, so for a 15% discount, just to take 15% off all the products and copy it down. So you can use Excel formulas. Again, when you save it as a CSV, the Excel formula is going to disappear and just the number will be left. So that's actually kind of a cool trick you can do. Actually, let me do that. We'll actually change the price of these right now, just to show you how that works. Okay, so since I'm not going to be updating condition or the title or the stock, I'm going to get rid of those fields. The less information you upload, the less likely you are to make a mistake, and the faster the file will process. So we'll change this to Apple price CSV, and we'll just click save. Okay, and then I'm going to show you how to upload that file. So once you've made all the changes you want to make to that file, you're going to go to Uploads, which is also just bulk uploads right here. And you're going to find that file under Upload File. You're going to go to Apple Price. And then here, if you wanted to, you can skip eBay or skip Amazon on like a big channel level. It'll skip all your, skip the whole channel. Or you can skip all channels. And what this will do is it'll just make the updates in SureDone, but it won't push them out. You can sort of do this if you want to do a review of like a big change before you push it out, and then you can choose to push it out afterwards. So we're going to click here. It's going to upload, and it's going to take us immediately to the bulk results page. We're going to talk about this in 1 second and a little bit further. I just want to go over a few more things about bulk uploading and the different features you have there. So while you're uploading a file, you can actually change to send it to a different email address. Basically what this does is it sends an email notification once the upload is complete. So right now you notice it was pending. This one will probably be processed pretty quickly since it's just 2 items. But, it actually does take like a second per item to update eBay or something like that. So this sends you an email when it's done, so you know to check the results. The zip media is for images, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. The preview will actually allow you to sort of preview what the changes are going to be. And then force, import media URLs, and skip all channels. We already talked about skip all channels, pretty self-explanatory. Force is what allows you to change fields that normally cannot be edited. We really recommend you don't use this button unless you, have been instructed to by support. But it does exist there because sometimes you need to like change the eBay ID, or you need to change the Amazon Skew. And what that is it allows us to say, we know that, we're editing sensitive data. Thank you for giving us a warning, but change it anyway. So it's just sort of, don't check that unless you're trying to change those fields. Import media URLs is a feature we can talk a little bit about more when we're talking about images. But what it does is actually, if you have like a link to an image, it will download that image to SureDone and host it for you for your products. That way you don't have to worry or rely on an external image hosting source. Okay. So So let me go here back to the results page. Hopefully this file will be done. Nope, it still says pending, so it's pending and it looks like it has one left to process. Normally it doesn't take that long for 2 products. I don't know, I guess obviously my computer's running a little slow right now, so it might have taken a second to upload. I'm just gonna refresh it one more time. Yeah. I'm gonna see what I might have done here. Just want to take a look at the spreadsheet real quick and see. No, there should be no issues with that, so it's alright. Again, my internet's running a little slow, so it might not even really upload quickly just because I'm screen sharing and recording and doing a bunch of other things. So give it a minute and I'll come back and check that, but there are some other things I can cover in the meantime. So one thing I do want to remind you guys again is if you leave something blank, it will be erased. That's very important. I've seen people accidentally delete very important information that way. And then next I want to talk to you just about images, so how bulk images work. So bulk images, there's 2 methods we have, and this is what this spreadsheet is here for. So one method, which is very simple, I will just delete this temporarily, we'll put it back, yeah, is the media URLs. So you can go media 1, media 2, media 3, and then let's say you have your images hosted on your website or your manufacturer provides URLs to the images. You can just use those images, literally just as simple as typing right here. So you can, type in the URL here. So if you had an image, let's just take this image URL for example. You can copy image URL, and you just paste it right in there. Right? So you go through, and you can add as many as you'd like. Of course, you want to fill out 1 first, then you're going to fill out 2 for some others, and you can go all the way up to 10. We have up to media 10. If you need to add more than 10 images, we have media X, which is the same thing, it's just star delimited for extra images. So let's say you put 1 image here, then you're going to add a star, and you put the next image there. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, that's only after 10. So really you're going to put media 1 through 10, and then if you have like 11 or 12 for eBay, you can add those in the media X column. The other method we have, let me go back here, is the media count method. The media count method is how you upload images that are hosted locally on your computer or like on a flash drive or somewhere like that. So it tells SureDone where to assign the images. So for example, I have a folder here. Let me grab it. A folder of images here. Let's say it looks like it's 9 images or so. And I just want to add some apparel to my store. So I'm going to add these new items. And I have these images in the folder. What you'll see here is what this media count column tells is it tells you how many images to assign to this particular GUID. And then this one tells you how many to assign to this. So for example, the first image is going to go to this black t-shirt here. Then the next 2, so images number 2 and image number 3 are going to go to the black hat. The word copy tells it to use the same images again. So again, the first image goes here, second and the third image go to black hat, the second and third image go to black hat 2 again, and then we start with the 4th image, the 5th image, and then images 5, 6, 7, 8 go to green shoes. So if we notice here in the folder, they're just going to go down the list in that order. So now there's 2 ways to really tackle this to make sure that you're lining up your images correct. So one way is to name your images by the SKU of the item, right? So that'll keep things easy. Then when you go to Excel, you can just go here. You can highlight your entire spreadsheet. You would go to Custom Sort, and you just make sure that you sort by your identifier. GUID, and it'll sort by the GUID, and they'll be in the same order. And then just make sure that you have the right counts. Like, do I have 2 images for this product or 4 images for this product, etc. The other thing you could do is if you have the image URLs in a spreadsheet, for example, let's say your supplier gives you the URLs or gives you the files, and they give you the file names in a spreadsheet, I've seen that sometimes, you can do the exact same thing. Just put like one of those fake headers I told you to store image, like file name, right? And then you can just plop those values in here, and the same way sort it, alphabetically by file name. The only other method I've seen, which again I don't think is as good as those methods, is to add a number in front of the images, right? So let's say you have a spreadsheet of 20 products here. You have your image folder. You could manually just go 01 dash in front, 02 dash in front of the actual image file names. So that's up to you. Let's see here. Hopefully we have this guy done by now. So I can show you how the results file works. We can get it added. Okay. So once you upload a file, whether it's images or an edit or an add or a delete or anything, there will always be a results file. Now the results entry has two components. It has the actual upload file, it has a copy of the file you uploaded, and it has a copy of the results file. So we'll download the results file, and I just want to show you how to read that file. Okay, so here it's pretty straightforward. The first column tells you what line in the CSV this action was, so in case you need to go back and find it in the original upload file. Just notice it skips the headers, so 1 is the first item, so it's the second row actually. But it tells you what line you need to go look at in the file, tells you whether or not the action was an add or an edit, what the identifier was, and what the result was. So the result's always going to be success or error, and that's like the SureDone result. So if it's a success, that should be it. That's all you see. If it's an error, it'll explain what the error is. Errors here are like critical errors. There are things that actually prevent your upload from going through. So things like, oh, the Skew didn't exist, you mistyped it or something, or any sort of critical error. Let's say you're trying to add a new item and the Skew already exists, you use the same Skew twice. If you get an error, the information you uploaded for that particular item did not save. That's an important thing to note. That's for any error in the errors column. The messages column sometimes will be like an eBay error. So for example, let's say that you uploaded the information, it's saved to SureDone okay, but the category ID you provided for eBay wasn't valid, or you forgot to include it altogether. Then you could see a success here, but a warning or an error that your eBay category is missing. That means that the information saved to SureDone, we pushed it to all of the channels, but any channels in this section, so in this case eBay, sent us back an error saying that something was missing. So the information saved, but it didn't successfully list to eBay or didn't successfully push to eBay, and you need to adjust whatever that is. Notices is just for any other sort of system messages. For example, if there's a warning, we think you missed something, but it's not important enough to stop the upload and give you an error, we'll put that under notices. So that's it. It's just an important thing to go check these files, especially when you're doing big bulk uploads. Once a day you want to check your results files or something, and just make sure that everything's going through the way you're expecting it to, especially when you're just starting out. Okay. You can also, of course, filter back and go into dates. I think right now we store all of these for up to 2 years, so it should be there. And again, the copy of your upload file is there. Don't need to re-download it. It's literally the exact same file. And that's sort of why I mentioned that you can include things like old price, right? So if you get you need to go back and look at an upload you did 3 months ago, you can understand what you did because you have the old data saved there. So now, going back to images, the media 1, media 2, media 3 method we talked about is very straightforward, and you just upload it like a normal page. An edit or an add doesn't matter. You just upload it. When you're doing a zip folder with the media count method, you need to obviously upload the images with the file. So let's say here we have this saved. Okay. What we're going to do is then we're going to find our image folder. I'm going to actually have to go outside here. I'm going to type it in to find it quicker. Image upload. Okay, and you can see I already have one here, but I'll just show you again. You're going to want to make sure that you zip this folder. So maybe it's already there. Maybe I can't because it's in a search. But you're going to click in Mac, it says compress folder. In a PC, it'll either say compressed or zip folder, depending on what operating system you're running. But again, all that does is it literally just makes the into a zip.zip file. You want to go here. You are going to upload the file. So in this case, I want to upload a parallel update. I'm going to upload that zip version. So I need to again find that. You got image upload .zip. And for a image upload, preview is actually required. And that's just because we want you to take a look at the images before we upload them, right? Because we don't want to upload the images incorrectly. So what you see here is at the top of this results section, you'll have a preview section now, and it'll tell you previews pending. After 48 hours, they expire, but they'll wait here for 48 hours. And it will not process until you confirm. So we see here is it'll show you the SKUs, and it will actually show you the images that are going to each of the SKUs. So you can see, like I said, these copied, and hopefully this helps you visually see what I was talking about earlier when I said the first image goes here, second and third go here, etc. The last thing here is you have the valid media uploaded and total media count. What that does is it adds all this up, it counts how many images are in the folder, and it just lets you know like these numbers should match, right? So if you for some reason see that the numbers are off, maybe you just want to take a quick, like a little bit of a closer look at the images and make sure, maybe you're missing one or something like that. Okay? Then you're just going to click commit. Now, since these SKUs don't exist, I expect to get errors. And that one actually already processed, so that was fast. Look at that. We'll download the results file, and we'll take a look to see how it went. Again, I don't think these SKUs actually exist in the demo account, so there might be some errors. That's okay, though, because I'd like you to see what the errors look like. Okay, so here are what the errors look like. In this case, it says failure, and then it tells you what the error was. In this case, it's because those SKUs do not exist, so the element does not exist in the account. But we can fix that, because what we're going to do in this last step here is we're going to talk about adding products. So adding products is actually, again, pretty straightforward. The only difference is that you probably won't be exporting first, right? You're going to be starting from scratch. What I really recommend, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of bulk uploads, is build some templates for like the different main categories you list in. For example, if you list in shoes, and some of the information is always the same, right? Let's say you use the same description for the most part. You are always in the same category. The colors and things like that might be the same. You can save that as a template. That way you don't have to type it all out every time. At the very least, you want to save the headers in a template. So you would just save like, these are the 20 headers that I need to upload. Because what our system will do is when creating new products in bulk, if you have something like your eBay shipping settings, right? Your eBay shipping settings you set up as a default in your account settings. And the same goes for a lot of other fields in SureDone, especially like channel options, like eBay and Amazon options. You can set up default values. So if you don't include that header, if you don't just include any of the eBay shipping headers, when we create the product, we'll just automatically use your defaults. So if you set up your defaults properly and you use them mostly, you can just save, let's say you need 10 headers, and you can add all the necessary information. So make sure you want to add the channel category, the title, the price, the stock number, and any additional requirements that particular category will have. So in this case, I just grabbed some of the categories. I use the SureDone search bar. So you can just go into the actual editor here. I won't have to go into it, but you can actually go down to the eBay section, and, type in the category ID and upload it there. So since I don't have this one right now, let's just skip it. No need to go look it up. And actually, I lied. We're gonna keep that, and we'll just leave it blank for now. So this item won't actually list. We can even do it this way. So you can do here. We'll do an action equals, we'll do start. We're going to create a draft there since I'm not ready to list that product since I don't have the category yet. Add, 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 or I can just do an add up here and let it give us an error. And like, why don't we try that? So I go here. We're going to go to bulk uploads. That's where you go to add products. I'm going to choose that file. Going to find that file again, image upload.zip. Okay, and I'm not going to skip any of the channels. Just going to let it upload and we'll see how it goes. So again, got to do my preview. Make sure that all the images look correct. We're good. I'm going to just let it go like that. Refresh the page. Now, since I'm actually sending information to eBay this time, it may take a little bit longer. It's actually got to process and upload those images to eBay. However, my preview should have moved down, so make sure here. Additionally, real quick, if it wasn't apparent, I will let you know that if for some reason these images are incorrect, you can just click the cancel button, and that'll cancel the image upload. Any other edits you included in that sheet will still go through. So if you change the price and the images and you click cancel, it's just going to cancel the image upload. The prices will still change. So if you need that not to happen, you can go back and change them. But that's just to keep, most of the information going forward, even if we can't get the images. So again, just hit commit. Okay. Session is being committed. Oh, it's giving me an error because it was already being committed. So it's just taking some time. You just got to upload those images to eBay. Uploading them to SureDone's not that long, but eBay sometimes has some processing time on that side. Okay. So that's the majority of it. I think we covered, pretty much how to upload, export, edit, add. Again, I want to reiterate a few quick important tips. So when looking at a file like this, it's important that you only upload items you intend to edit. So if you're not trying to change this skew, just delete it. If you're not trying to change stock on any item, just delete it. Don't leave fields blank unless you want them to become blank. We actually upload that as blank. Only upload the same item once in a spreadsheet, so you don't want this item to be on here twice. That could cause some errors. And just make sure you proofread your uploads. That's really one of the big things. Lastly is just some common errors you could see. So some common errors, the most common is invalid identifier. So it'll say right up here when you try to upload the file, instead of taking you to the results page, it'll say error uploading invalid identifier. That's usually caused by one of two things. One is you saved it as an Excel file and not a CSV. So for some reason the system just couldn't read it because Excel is written in a completely weird language. Or you didn't include an identifier as your second column. So for example, if you just went action equals edit, the next column was title, you'll get invalid identifier because it can't identify based on the title. Okay, and that pretty much covers everything. So what I am going to do is I'm going to check your comments and see if you have any questions. Feel free, I'll give you guys a few more minutes if you want to pop any more questions in there, and I'm happy to answer them. Again, once we're done this webinar, if there's anything you have additional questions on, I really recommend you go here to the guides page in the bottom right hand corner, or additionally just straight to this link. We'll send this out in the follow-up email along with this recording. And you're just going to go down and you can check on any one of these sections we covered, including some extra tips and tricks like Excel formulas and stuff like that we find useful. And that'll really help you solidify everything we just talked about. Of course, you can also contact us at suredone.com/support if you have any follow-up questions that I don't get to right now. So with that, I'm going to take a look at the questions right now. So give me 1 second to read those, and then I'll answer them. So viewer 26, thank you for helping answer some of these questions. So the export file is a CSV, as I mentioned. So it's a comma separated value, and that should be readable by any spreadsheet application. Whether you go in Notepad, you go in Excel, you go in Google Sheets, all of those should be able to read CSVs without a problem. If you're having an issue opening a file, or for example, some reason you have a text file and you need to import it, there are ways. There's a lot of good tutorials online to import data into Excel directly. Okay, so now the next question was about, is there a way to export the CSV in Excel so that it preserves fields such as the UPC, or I've seen it happen with Skews, where they just auto-convert into the scientific notation. So if anybody's not familiar with that, let's say we'll make this number into a UPC, so we'll just add a couple digits, right? So Excel has a habit of doing this when you open that file. And that's actually a very good thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if you save this as a CSV, this is what it's going to save, and it's actually going to lose all of these other digits. It's just going to say 5.24000000. So if you ever save it as a CSV, and I'll even do it just to show you, because we don't want to deal with this. You save this file, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. I'm going to fix it first without saving, and then I'm going to open that file to show you what the messed up version looks like. So the answer, which is correct, thank you viewer 26, you can go here and you can just change it back to number and get rid of the decimal points, and that will adjust it back. Additionally, if you have it opened in like a text pad, sometimes you can copy and paste it in. But again, this is the easiest way. Usually just open that file, take whatever was in scientific notation, just highlight that column and switch it to number, and it will auto-correct it. Now that only works, and you want to make sure you do this for all of your fields like this, so category fields or UPC fields, before you save it. Because as you remember, I saved it earlier before I fixed that. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Stop. It's the apparel update. If I try to open this file now without fixing the formatting before saving, of course it's going to upload like that again, but when I go to change it to number this time, it's going to cut off all those extra digits. So it's very important that you fix that before saving, because the CSV won't save those digits. Okay. Is it possible to bulk edit the Skew using the ID field, or to edit a single Skew in case of a typo? Yes. Okay, sorry. Thank you for repeating the question. So there's two ways to do it. One is bulk, so I'll mention that first. Is, as I casually mentioned earlier about the ID, is if you did something like this and you wanted to bulk edit these Skews, you could do the ID, and let's say you had the IDs, or you exported them from SureDone, right? So you have the ID numbers for these. You can then actually edit the Skew in the GUID. The only thing that's important is to make sure they match if you're doing, like, a single edit product. So let's say we have these information here, and you need to change the Skew for number, this one here, because this was supposed to be a 17. Just make sure you change them both to 17. Otherwise, SureDone will think you're trying to create a variation. So yeah, you can do that using the ID field. And that's really the only time you're ever going to need to use the ID field in bulk as the identifier. Additionally, you can also do that in the editor. I just want to mention this. What you do is you actually Alt-click on the Skew. So if you hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and click on the Skew, it'll open up and it become a workable thing. So here, let's maybe see if I can open this here. I'm going to read the next one. Okay. Viewer 38, while this is loading, you asked, how should bulk CSVs be set up for skews with variations? So with skews with variations, it depends, again, if you're trying to do the bulk add or an edit. For the edit, they work the same way. Just make sure you use the GUID instead of the skew. If you're trying to do a bulk add, it works the same way. You want to use the GUID as the main identifier, and then put skew in the next column. So let's say you have. I'll pull this example up here. Let's say that these. Let's get rid of the ID because you're never going to use ID when you're adding. Let's say cut. I'll paste this over here. Okay. So let's say that these were a variation, and these were a variation of 05. And then these bottom ones were a variation of ST14. As long as you add the parent first, so the parent, which is when the skew and the GUID match, that needs to be first. Goes like that, right? Oh, typo here. So that's how that's going to work. We have a video on variations, which we did, I believe, a week or two ago. And Ben led that one, and he actually has set up the spreadsheet for you. So we'll make sure you get to the recording for that. So if you want to watch, how to set up bulk variations, like a complete, more in-depth guide, we'll send you that video. Sometimes UPCs have a leading zero. Yes. The leading zero is an issue. What I'm going to do actually, because I have read an instruction set, I sort of just got an Excel form on how to help you with that. And I'll send it out in the update email. I don't recall what to do it off the top of my head. There is a way, though, to import the text file and preserve the leading zeros. The leading zeros is one of the most annoying things about UPCs in Excel. But I will make sure that I send you that video or instruction set that I found. I just have to look it up again. Okay, normally use a SureDone as our identifier. So the question is, does they normally use the ID as their identifier in bulk file? Should they be using GUID? I think GUID is the best, one, because you're usually more familiar with it, and because it's, less prone, like you can't change the skew by using the GUID. If you uploaded, the ID and the GUID for some reason and your columns were shifted, you could accidentally end up changing all of your skews. It's not that important. I mean, if you're exporting, editing the file, and uploading it straight back without including the GUID in the skew, the ID works fine. The important thing is just really, if you're uploading the ID, only upload the ID. Don't upload the GUID and the skew as well. And that actually makes the file process faster, uploading just one identifier. Otherwise, the system tries to check both. So, yeah, using the ID is okay. We recommend the GUID. We think it's the easiest, but the ID field will work just fine. I'll show you similar to viewer 16s. So yeah, so the viewer 16 is really about the number formatting. Again, really, I will get you guys the one about the leading zeros, but the other tips as far as formatting the zeros, the full string back to the number would definitely be to use this formatting here. Additionally, and I will mention this since it's come up with a few different people. I think it's under, I haven't done it a little bit, but I know it exists. Yeah, under File Import. So if you go to File Import, you can actually import a file, which is a little bit better for the formatting. So let's say you have a text file instead of a CSV, or you opened it in, Notepad and saved it as a text. You can actually choose to import the file. And I'll send you separate instructions on how this works, because we did make a quick guide on it once. But if you use the import file, you can actually import things like the leading zeros, and I believe that's part of the solution for that. But I want to follow up with better instructions. Okay, one thing that helped me is opening the CSV file by going to Data tab in Excel, import external data. Okay, so it could also be there. That is another way to do it. So it might actually be different. It might be that way on a PC and under File for a Mac. But yeah, if you want to export internal data as viewer 37 recommended, that's a good method to do it. So saving it in a different file and then exporting it into a new spreadsheet. With the skip selection, will take priority if both exist. Skip field in the CSV and skip field in either channel. Yes. Okay, so thank you for bringing that up. So what viewer 37 is asking about is we have, for example, there's skip eBay and skip Amazon fields. I think it's Amazon. And you can actually type in like true in here and false in here to skip on the item by item basis, right? So if you were like true, 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 etc., go down the page, it would actually save that. That's correct. It's eBay skip and Amazon skip.
eBay one skip.
And if you have multiple instances, you can do eBay 2 skip, eBay 3 skip, etc. Again, you can put a 1 here, but it should process without the 1s there. So the point is we have these on the item level, but then we also have the checkboxes that you noticed on the bulk upload. So if you check that checkbox, that's like the top rule. It will just won't read the eBay fields. It won't send them to eBay. If you do them on the item by item basis, it will respect whatever ones you have true. So basically just assume it's this way. It's almost like skip is either on or off for every item. If you check the box, it automatically turns it on for everything no matter what you put. If you leave the box open, it'll read whatever the sheet here has. Okay? Yep, no problem. So, does anybody else have any questions? Again, like I said, you can always email us back. We're going to send out a follow-up email, and if you think of something afterwards, with your example, will it give you a false value for the typo? In your example,
Where it says true instead of truer.
oh, yes, that's a good point. If you don't type true correctly, it will just result as a false. So again, false is always the default, unless you really type true in. One thing that's nice, and I was wondering about that, is if you see here what Excel does, is when it's true, it actually formats it differently and centers it for true-false values. So sometimes its auto-formatting is actually kind of useful. So that's a quick way to spot typos. It's like that. Yep, no problem. Anybody else have any questions about anything at all during the bulk part? There is not a current functionality that will allow you to blanket default listing the same items on multiple things. What we really recommend in that case is that you upload them in 2 separate sheets or sort the sheets so that all your eBay 1 items are at the top and all your eBay 2 items are at the bottom. If you do 2 separate sheets, then you have the benefit of being able to just use that blanket skip eBay button on the bulk upload page. If you decide instead that you want to do it all in 1 sheet, just make sure that your eBay 1 skip is true all the way down, and then after a certain point your eBay 2 skip is true all the way down. That's the way you'd have to do that right now. Using action equals this when an item is not active on eBay. Yes. So a relist, just like it does in SureDone, a relist is basically a save and relist. So it does all the things that an edit will do and then relists it. And additionally, if you use a relist on an item that's already listed, it'll just basically act as an edit. It sends all of the information again. So it's like a full edit. So whereas normally if you just did an edit, it'll just send in the information in the spreadsheet. If you do a relist, it'll send the information in the spreadsheet along with the entire listing body. And it does that to all the channels. So it sort of acts as an edit and a relist. Yep, you're welcome. All right, does anybody else have any questions? Okay, so again, we do have an Amazon webinar as well, which, if you're asking lots of questions about Amazon, I would highly recommend you get to view. We'll send out a link to all the webinars and such. But to answer that question quickly, it does depend. Amazon usually takes about 30 minutes to process things and give us results, but sometimes the actual updates show up quicker on their site and we're just waiting to hear back from them. And then other times things, for example, I've seen like variations. I've seen them add to the account right away, but then actually take as long as even 2 hours for Amazon to actually make it look the way you would expect it to look. So it really depends on Amazon and how they're feeling that day. But generally, we should hear back from them within about a half an hour, whether or not it went through successfully. All right, guys, it looks like our time is about up. So if you have any other questions, we're going to shoot you out a copy of this video by the end of the week, and you can just reply back to us at support. And I'm happy to personally follow up with any questions you guys have. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you guys all learned something and can get a little bit more out of the system now. And I wish you all a great weekend.